Fala pessoal, boa noite. Começando aqui a live sexta-feira mais tarde. Aproveitar esse dia para aprender um pouco mais com um confronto de duas equipes muito fortes. Já estou em casa também, vai acabar tarde o jogo. Hoje, Pitt, número 8 do país, com os brasileiros, Rodrigo, Lucas Rosa, o Guilherme, enfim, uma equipe que a gente sabe o nível de jogo, está jogando em casa contra Louisville que hoje não tem nenhum brasileiro, mas na temporada passada tinha o Pedro Fonseca, que foi draftado pelo Real Salt Lake, jogou a MLS Next Pro pelo Real Monarchs e foi o MVP do Real Monarchs agora na primeira temporada da MLS Next Pro. Já vou soltar aqui a transmissão, acabou de começar para a gente ver as equipes que vão começar jogando, quais brasileiros vão começar jogando, e aí, tendo alguma coisa, eu vou aparecendo para comentar com vocês. Beleza? Então, boa sexta para todo mundo. Depois comenta aqui quem que está assistindo para a gente ir conversando. Já vou soltar a transmissão porque já começou. E aí eu venho aparecendo aqui para a gente conversar um pouco mais. Tá soltando alguns clipes de Pitt, muito legal para ver Media Day, enfim, vou soltar por aí. Os fãs, enfim, a torcida de Pitt é muito legal de acompanhar também. Me confirmem se o áudio da transmissão tá saindo para vocês, beleza? Então, só uma correção, na verdade o jogo está sendo na casa de Louisville, que é um dos melhores estádios do college soccer também. Eu dei uma travada no áudio porque estava com uma música de fundo, enfim, eles ainda estão arrumando a transmissão, e aí eu solto a transmissão com o áudio, beleza? Mas a imagem já está ok, o jogo deve começar agora em 2 minutos, o pessoal já está ali no meio campo, e eles ainda não soltaram as escalações, então daqui a pouco a gente confirma quais brasileiros que estão de titular do lado de Pitt. Como eu falei, Pitt com vários brasileiros e Louisville hoje sem nenhum brasileiro na equipe, enfim, no elenco todo. Como eu falei, Pedro Fonseca, que estava lá, foi draftado, foi um destaque do Real Monarchs, na MLS Next Pro, ganhou o prêmio de MVP da temporada, então a transição dele para a MLS provavelmente vai acontecer muito em breve. Também um lembrete que a gente postou hoje. Hoje saiu o time da temporada, da primeira temporada da MLS Next Pro, e o outro Pedro Dolabella, que era da Marshall, foi para o Rochester, New York, estava na equipe jogando no meio campo ali, então muito bom esse prêmio para o Pedro que é bem próximo nosso, daqui de Brasília também. Enfim, vai começar a partida, eu vou sair aqui e vou soltar o áudio da transmissão, me confirme se o áudio tá ok. Por enquanto tá sem narrador, mas eles devem arrumar já, tá com som ambiente por enquanto. Beleza?
Moments from kickoff here. The coin toss, John McCloskey, Bradley Sample, Jackson Walty, your captains there. Let's get the Pitt's lineup from Jay Vitovich at 4-3-3. We talked offense in the open. Defense is the focus now.
I look at Jackson Gilman because he's a freshman. You look at the minutes played.
Então, time titular de Pitt, só pra gente comentar. Brasileiros titulares: o Rodrigo Almeida ali, o número 11. O zagueiro Henrique Galina também. Jogava na USF, South Florida, transferiu para Pitt nessa temporada. E na lateral direita, o Lucas Rosa. Então, 3 brasileiros na equipe titular de Pitt. Muito bom. Vamos ver como que vai ser o nível. Vou soltar a partida, já a gente volta para comentar mais.
Ball played over the head of Bertan Jacasson, and let's You mentioned it in the open. Let's talk a little bit about Valentin Noel. He was a Mac Hermann Trophy finalist, which is essentially the Heisman Trophy for soccer 2 years ago. One of the most prolific scorers in Pitt history. He's out, unavailable for selection, injured in that last game against Akron. How does that change Pitt's attack that has always been dynamic?
It lessens it. And the reason is because you become a bit more predictable within that front three. If Valentin Noel's in there, he can play as the central spot in the 9, who will also be comfortable dropping down into the midfield. But you can also play him on the right, more specifically and frequently on the left flank. When you have this trio up top, Lucini, Jacquesson, and Mayufo, they look much more linear in nature. Jacquesson will stay more on the right. Lucini will be the point man, and Mayufo on that left-hand side. When you understand as a defender positionally where the players are going to be, that fluctuation and freedom that this attack normally has from Pitt makes it much easier to defend for Louisville.
And we've seen Jay Vitovich, the coach at Pitt, told us, you've seen Valentin Noel pop up in that 9, pop up on either side. He can be all over the place, and it gives problems for defenders, as you just mentioned. So he's not available, but this team's still capable of scoring goals. Woo. Tight move there by Joe van der Sar, the keeper for Pitt. Picked up in the middle by Quentin Elliott, the freshman. Left back came forward. Jackson Walty on the ball, 2-time All-ACC player. Back to van der Sar, who floats it out looking for Luca Rosa. And for Louisville, it's a big game, as we mentioned. They're 1-2 in their ranked opponent matchup so far this year. They've been tested, but they failed some of those. Kentucky and Duke game was at home. As you look at John Michael Hayden, the coach for Louisville Cardinals, what do you want to see from them early? What would give you a sense that they're here to have this fight, to win this fight?
I'd like to see him get away from some of the individuality, because that's great that we isolate Makumba, we talk about Josh Jones, but the biggest issue I have for them is, A, can they show us throughout 90 minutes what they're capable of? You've heard comments from Saunders Road, their midfielder, and John Michael Hayden, their head coach, that 1-2 touch be the best in the nation. We just don't consistently see that. And number 2 is the separation between the 2 units.
Josh Lucini could run onto this. Well played by Bryce LaBelle. Still loose. And picked up a foul early. Tenuous moment there.
Really between the midfield and your back line. So the front line does a good job of pressing, and they chase and they apply pressure, and they will track back. But a lot of times I'm seeing too much separation. Bradley Sample right on the left side of your screen, as he drops down in, he can't be the only one helping out. So that back line has to come up, make sure you close off the pressure, especially because Lucini, although there is no Valentin Noel, he has become more comfortable in those central locations. So when he comes in, someone's got to go. And if you go, do you have coverage behind you?
Lucini now scored 2 goals in a game against NC State last weekend to give them a win. He's got 2 on the campaign. There's Jay Vitovich, who's an absolute institution in college, in American soccer, 7-time ACC Coach of the Year, 2 of those with Pitt, back-to-back years, 5 with Wake Forest in his previous stint in the conference. They won the 2007 national championship. But he took a program that was not existent, the Pitt soccer program, and has now made them into a powerhouse. And really a matter of 4 years, he got it done, got to the first College Cup. Bell fights it off, gets it to Eric Dunqua. Bradley Sample, captain, central defensive midfielder. Pings it over to Philip Fredall. That was Josh Jones, who you focused on in the open, big 16 in white in the back. Ryan Troutman getting the start, the second of the season. Started last game against Florida Gulf Coast. Replacing Gavin Kornecki. Flicked on, looking for Saunders Road to run onto it. One of the league leaders in assists, Road is, 4th in the conference. Back to Nico Diaz. Fredall, slide rule pass to Road. Low ball played in, and it! What a save! Still out! Still loose! And it's in the back of the net! Abubakar Kamara, he is their talisman. He does it again. 22nd goal in his career for Louisville, and puts him up 1-0 within 5 minutes.
Saunders Road says it. John Michael Hayden says it. We talked about it just 2 minutes ago. 1-2 touch soccer. You start on the right-hand side. As you come back in, you start to stretch. The move by Saunders Road down into the final third. When he gets one-on-one in the corner, this guy can distribute the ball from anywhere that he wants. 21 All-ACC freshman team for a reason. Picks out their striker, his 3rd of the year.
1 a 0 Louisville, esse número 9, Abubakar Kamara, acho o nome dele. É um atacante muito perigoso. Na temporada passada, o Pedro Fonseca fazia dupla de ataque com ele, dava muita assistência para ele. O goleiro ainda deu uma salvada, mas a bola deu uma sorte, sobrou de novo para ele deitado chutou. Enfim, esse atacante é muito perigoso. 1 a 0 com 5 minutos de jogo. Pitt estava conseguindo controlar a bola mais no ataque. O comentarista estava falando também, Pitt teve o número 8, Valentin Noel, um dos melhores jogadores da equipe também. Machucou na temporada passada também, ele ficou muito tempo machucado. Então, tá tendo que dar uma certa improvisada no ataque. Mas é isso, 5 minutos de jogo, 1 a 0 Louisville. Ainda tem muita coisa para rolar, vamos continuar acompanhando.
To use your phrase, you want them to be quote unquote battle tested, right? Yeah. You want to make sure that a team knows how to go get a result, because you win every game 3 or 4-0, you're going to hit cup time and you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. It's that simple. I would say, though, that there is something to be said that such a hot start, you almost feel entitled that you're going to do it every game. You just walk out and think it's just going to present itself to you. And that's not the case, because if you look at some of the first couple of games, yes, West Virginia was ranked, but how does that look now? Yeah. Right? Not so great. And as you run through their resume, they certainly have good results. But the other side of that is they've also smoked some teams that weren't very good. And when you step into them, your head's down. Okay, how do we figure it out? And I go back to Vitovich. He said, guys, we know how to do this. Yeah. This is fine. Just settle yourself down. And so all of a sudden, behind it once again, I said it coming in, this is still one of, if not the best teams in college soccer. I'll throw Clemson in there, right? Like Wake, of course.
Who are playing tomorrow night.
Of course, it just so happens.
We'll talk about that more
at teaser, so we call that. But as you go through the motions, you got to stop doing that. Literally, like going through the motions is a phrase for a reason. There's no intensity. There's no intent. Look, the United States men's national team this morning. There was no identity to them, right?
I wondered how I had the over-under on 10 minutes of us bringing up that performance this morning. We got there in 7.
But think about what you're seeing right now. We're inside 10 minutes, everything. Forward thinking for Louisville, press, pressure, intensity. You don't see that from the visitors.
And Abubakar Kamara that did score, moves him to 8th now, all time, with Brian Whitman in the tie in terms of goals at Louisville. He's got 22. At 13 last year, set a tie to Louisville record for a single season, and gets his 3rd of the campaign at a huge time. And Joe Van der Sar, credit him with the save. And if you're recognizing the last name, yes, he is Edwin Van der Sar's son, the Ajax now the Ajax CEO, one of the best club in Netherlands. But he, was the netminder for Manchester United for years, Juventus, and others, and one of the most decorated keepers, one of the best keepers of all time. And his son did his namesake proud right there in the first save, just couldn't keep it out a second time.
É legal que o comentarista falou, já postei sobre isso na página da Team Brazucas, mas se você vê o sobrenome do goleiro, tem alguma coisa Der Sar, ele falou, não é por acaso, ele é filho do Van der Sar, goleiro da Holanda, do Manchester United, enfim. Então, tem o sangue ali de goleiro de família, é um goleiro muito bom, fez um certo milagre, mas não conseguiu impedir depois. Então, só como curiosidade, o goleiro de Pitt, filho só do Van der Sar, lenda holandesa, enfim, lenda do futebol mundial.
Looking for Ba behind Rosa, connects nicely. Center's back post, Road can't get there. Rodrigo Almeida on it. He turns and just launches, looking for Lucini. Ryan Strautman off to Corral. Switch picked off. You talked about this a lot. Why does he look to do that all the time?
Well, number one, he used to be an attacking outside midfielder. So in an advanced role, you're always looking to try and...
Jack Hassan, he's going to give it a rip. Good little turn. He gets a little pocket of space. He can make somebody pay. Good hold up by Kamara. Out to Ba. Ba waits for reinforcements. Samples touch is heavy, but he maintains possession out to Road. Excuse me, Fredo. No, that is Road. My bad. I can't see. Tough job when you can't see. Not the pass Sample was looking for. Not the pass Filip Mirkovic was looking for. Supposed to try to hook it long to Jacquesson. Doesn't connect.
Good pressure, though. You notice how they don't let him out. The high line defensively here for Louisville Cardinals. You pin him down into the corner. What it forces is one of two things. Pitt always wants to be on it and play out, which they're doing right now. But a lot of times you'll see them go long there and stretch the game. But speaking of long, this is what you want out of the distribution coming off the back line. But watch the first touch here into space. The 1v1 that I talked about in the intensity. As you start to go, it's not 2 or 3 touches. It's decision-making at a high level, at a rapid pace from Akumaba. That's what John Michael Hayden's looking for.
Kamara clipped there by Rosa. Kamara, the Philadelphia Union Academy product, struggling to get up there. And Rosa, transfer from St. Francis. Was third-team All-American back in 2019. Dealt with some injury issues. Grad student now comes here to Pitt. Has locked down that right back spot. Was a pleasant surprise for Jay Vitovich early in the year that he transitioned from being more of an attacking player to an outside back so well.
It's a necessity thing that sometimes you don't necessarily want to, right? But he also did his ACL last year, spent the entire season looking from afar. He'll do anything he can to be involved.
Was it necessity is the mother of invention? Road to play it in, not his best ball. False to Dunkwa. He's got space, gives it a hit. Van der Sar answers the question.
Things got a little bit of movement on it, too. One of the things that you get yourself into when you're down early, Dallin, and the emotion's not running your way is you tend to dive in. And as the little cutback comes across, that's a mismatch by Almeida. He's got to be smarter. Stand on your feet. Stand him up. There's no reason you let him cut in general, but specifically back to the interior. It's the most dangerous spot on the field.
Road to take it. Second corner of the match. Outswinging ball. Free header for Sample. Can't connect. Elliott tried to clip it back in, but did not work.
Want to go back a second as Pitt tries to reset themselves and get their shape and play out as they always do. You were asking me about Philip Fredall. When you're an attacking player, Dallin, your vision is always forward. And that can be a great asset, but it can also be one of the biggest detriments, especially for a player who steps onto the back line. And yeah, he's a freshman, but the international players, they're so technically talented. And when they come over, everything, especially in the modern day and age, is forward-thinking philosophy. Is Jay Vitovich and John Michael Hayden have a little banter on the sideline.
Jay Vitovich was laying on the fourth official a little bit there, Brian Mentz, because that ball was tried to be played forward. It looked like from our angle that it clipped off a Louisville player's foot on the way out of play, but it became Louisville ball. So he was a little, let's say, incredulous and had some words for Mentz.
Don't piss him off. Outside of the technical area, he knows the boundaries. He's stepping with it already. Knows him. He just toes the line, stands right on it. Gives you enough to think about.
Kamara brings it down, covered by blue jerseys. Lucini trying to prevent that outlet, can't. Oh, nice job by Fredall, dribbling through some pressure, but they eventually lose control. Mirkovic on it. He's been great the last few games for Pitt. Last 4 games, he's had 2 goals and 4 assists. That's 21 in blue. Goal and 2 assists in their comeback draw. They were down 2-0, went up 3-2, and then finished 3-3 against Akron at home earlier this week. Mateo Maufu clipped. And with our 8 o'clock start, we had other games in action right now. NC State and Virginia Tech, the only other ACC men's game happening right now. And the Pack are up 1-0 over Virginia Tech. 51st minute. We'll keep you updated on that as that goes forward. There are 4 matches tomorrow. As we mentioned, Clemson and Wake, the 1:10 matchup is the highlight. Maufu in some space. Good first touch and a great tackle by Fredall out for the corner.
What do I say to you every time about a center back? If you're going to leave your feet, especially in your own final third, you better be sure that you're going to get to this ball. And this is the reason that he gets bumped onto the back line. freshman or not, attacker, previous nature, but Philip Fredall, great decision-making. He'll attack centrally at any time that he wants. Yes, he does love the big switch, but he knows his responsibility. Lives, dies, and breathes at that right back spot. That's an excellent tackle.
Vitovich in swinging ball into the hands of Trout. They were effective offset pieces in that Akron match. 2 goals offset pieces. And Troutman looking to release Diaz long. Rosa is there, though. He might try to usher it out, and he'll play it back to Van der Sar. Almeida on it, second team All-ACC last year. Over to Abelnati, one of the goal scorers, opened the goal scoring for Akron, against Akron, earlier in the week. Transfer from Notre Dame on the ball now. His second year with the Panthers. Jackson Gilman's pass is off. And Lucini back from an offside position.
Everything's off. Again, this is...
How do you correct that? What needs to change?
As a player, as a team, as a coach, the 3 separate answers.
Okay.
As a player, one foot in front of the other. We've talked about this before, where you just got to do the simple things as efficiently as possible.
Shot. Van der Sar challenged a little bit as Diaz cut inside. Like even that, he's getting that off pretty easily.
Yeah, I'd make the similar argument for the team in terms of efficiency and simplicity. But the other side of that is you need someone to step up and be the guy. I talked about Bertrand Jacquesson coming in at this point in time. Now look at a guy like Jackson Walty, your captain on the inside, who really controls the tempo of the entire team. He's off. He's got to start to step up on the ball right now. Break levels, see if you can start to stretch the game a little bit. That's a good start.
It's a good look from Almeida, but couldn't complete the pass.
Vitovich, his viewpoint is much easier. He knows, we talked about it earlier. Guys, we know how to do this, right? Just a little bit flat, keep going. But he's also got a depth on the bench that he can pull from.
Ufu clips it in. Lucini coming over. Headed out by Elliott and then dinged forward by Dunqua.
It's the time-old tale in any sport, but specifically collegiate athletics. Not doing well? Come sit next to me because I got a lineup right behind you of anybody that's willing to step in and take your spot.
Yeah, Pitt does have quite a bit of depth, even without Valentin Noel. This Louisville team has depth as well. You'll see some very talented young attackers come off the bench for Louisville. Didn't get the start, John Michael Hayden told us, because he went with a little more experience. Nico Diaz, a junior, he's been through some battles, not a ton of starts. There's John Michael Hayden, a former Louisville native himself, I should say. You look at the production he returned from last year. His team took some of its lumps last year, did not make it to the NCAA tournament, but now have a lot of they've seen the fruits of their labor because of that.
Well, they sort of burst onto the scene in 20. Nobody really saw them coming, and they exploded. And that sort of sophomore slump, if you will. One of the great things that John Michael Hayden's been able to do is, from a recruiting standpoint, it's a destination now. Before it was, I'll end up there, right? Now that's a different story, and that's not a knock on Ken Lola, who produced himself a great program. Remember, he's the one who started the resurgence of Akron. He set that program up. Caleb Porter took it. Now Jaron Embiid does a great job for them. But when he came here, John Michael Hayden was his lead guy for a reason. And all of a sudden, you look around the country and recruits want to come here as opposed to being a second or third choice. And the fact that you have such a wealth of talent at a young age, you said that seniority reigns supreme in terms of decision-making. He's still got 5 underclassmen on the field and starting 11 tonight.
Still young, yeah. In that whole back line, you've got 3 out of the 4 underclassmen, 2 of them freshmen, the 2 outside backs. Apologies, I misspoke. They did go to the tournament last year. Was here before that. They didn't quite make the cut. Jacquesson skipping past Elliott, gets it to Rosa. Little 1-2 back to Rosa. Good deflection by Jones, because from our angle, that outside of the boot shot looked like it could have really tested Troutman.
I do actually wonder why he doesn't take a touch with his right foot to put this out in front of him. He's got great vision. Remember, this is a number 10 attacking player by nature. But as the ball comes back in, watch all the bodies that are in front of him. Great little 1-2. But you got the goalkeeper, you got another center back on the backside. Philip Fredall's in there as well. You take a touch on your right foot in front of you. Got a little bit of acreage to step into and have it go one-on-one with the goalkeeper.
Vitovich out swinging ball, headed down. Gilman got a piece of it, but wasn't able to put it on frame. And there's John Michael Hayden again, 4th season at the helm. Louisville native, from Trinity High School, actually playing a huge football game against their rival St. Xavier right across the street here at the football stadium. Was a Gatorade High School Player of the Year, Kentucky, 2-time All-American, 2-time national champ at Indiana. Great player in his own right. Went on to be the 13th overall selection of the Houston Dynamo in MLS. They also won MLS Cup that year in 2007. He's done a great job, as you mentioned, of taking this program and getting them back on track and bringing in a ton of talented players. Last year's recruiting class, one of the top 10 in the nation. This class, again, great again.
It's funny how someone's mind can lead them back to maybe where they really wanted to be, or an admiration that has carried with them for quite some time. And I'm referencing John Michael Hayden. That's a ball.
What a ball, but he's offside. Flag goes up. Great look by Rosa to make the big switch there.
Describe the collegiate game to me, is what I said to him. You know, the difference between when you were winning national titles at Indiana and, of course, Jerry Yeagley, the godfather that was in charge then, and what it looks like now from a recruiting standpoint, the level. And he said, you know, we played Wake, I believe it was in 2001, and we beat them, yes, but we defended for our lives for the entire game. And I remember coming out of that game, Jay Vitovich squad, by the way, saying, wow, they can play. And that level just continues to rise every single season. You know, we always say that the ACC is the best conference of college soccer. That's not something new. That's been around for quite some time. And you know, the responsibility for players and coaches to carry that on. You're looking at a Big Ten guy who's sort of crossed enemy lines to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the Big Ten, it used to be more of a battle, I feel like, the Big Ten and the ACC, but that's, in recent years, the ACC has definitely taken control as the best conference of college soccer. You're making a hand motion. What do you want? I'm going to play faster? What
Faster,
do you think?
absolutely. You know, Mirkovic drops down in, you play into his feet. There's 25 yards. Instead, it's a second and a third touch, and then you make a decision. It's one thing when things are stacked up against you and it's difficult because the pressure's so high. It's a whole other when you get your own way. And that's kind of what's going on right now for some of these decisions for Pitt. And it's really everywhere on the field. We saw Rosa down in the box a second ago. Moufo on the back post run. That slight hesitancy gets you into the final third instead of starting the movement too early. And then Mirkovic. What's the quote I always give you from Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City manager? This is a really easy game that we make hard on ourselves. It's a great example out in front of you right now. The team's battling back in. They just got to get out of their own way.
So they're in the John Michael Hayden readying some of those subs, those young players to come in the match. Rode on the ball. All ACC freshman team last year. Second team All ACC player out to Nico Diaz. Nice job by Kamara to hold it up and then just kind of thrashed at it. And we talked about some talented young players. 27 comes in, Konstantinos Georgilidis, a freshman from Cyprus. 2 goals on the campaign. Really a fun player to watch. And also Damien Barker John coming in for Makumba Ba. And Barker John, a freshman from Queens, New York, part of the Queensboro FC Academy. Also spent some time in New York City FC Academy prior to that. So both these freshmen, what do they bring, Devin?
First of all, you got a new hairstyle by Damien Barker John. He got rid of the fro. I got to talk to him about that after the game. I like the long hair, man. He's a great player with the ball at his feet. Watch his left foot. He loves to cut inside, but he's great on his right foot as well. So that balance gives him the freedom to attack at will any which direction. It's very difficult as an outside back when you're in those situations to figure out what his tendency is going to be, because he really doesn't have any. If anything, you'd like him to at times slow down and combine and transition more, as opposed to the one-offs and 1v1s that you see from a player like Makumba Ba. But with Konstantinos Georgilidis, watch him as he drops down in. The great thing that you get out of him is he's so comfortable on the interior, and they will play him within that 3, but they bump him up onto the front line as well. So his engine, 2 ways, is very different from the look that you get out of Kamara or Makumba Ba. Helps out more defensively, but still provides you that stretch going the other direction.
And there is Barker John. I mean, talk about Georgilidis. I mean, he's had an interesting career already. It was the debut for his pro club in Cyprus at 16 years old. Here comes the third corner of the match for Filip Mirkovic to take it. Out swinging ball, headed out by Sample. Brought down by Walty. He might give it a hit. No, he plays it out wide. Clipped in. Nobody there, but falls to Almeida and way wide. Nice flick by Rode, but Walty read it. Walty now in his 87th college game. That is the most of any active player in the nation. He's played almost 7,700 minutes. And that's a freshman, Gilman, connecting Lucini, and Rosa's pass wayward. And there's a foul on one of those freshmen, Barker John. We talked about let's take a look at the production of some of these freshmen coming into this lineup, and they had to break their way in because, again, there's a lot of sophomores that logged a lot of minutes with this group. But you see Barker John and Jorgalitis also getting some goals, some assists. And this, again, is a young team, but an experienced team, and even these freshmen have been able to step up with a really tough schedule.
The good news is you get it at both ends of the field, too. You got two defenders on the exterior of the field there for Josh Jones's as well. Remember, he's a sophomore in that argument, but the freshman, Jorgalitis, moving into the midfield and on the front line, and then Damien Barker, John, the aforementioned.
Rode floated back post. Jones is up. He's big. The center back can score with those headers, and he got it down, but it was deflected before it could get to goal.
If you come into set piece scouting from the week, Dallin, it's real simple. There are certain guys you can't take your eye off of, and he's got to be number one at the list. 6'5", but it's the weight, it's his ability to jump up. This guy jumps out of the gym on the ball to the back post.
Former All-State hooper from Pennsylvania, 22 points a game. You can see why. Jorgalitis, his pass short. But we were on the field before, and I said to you, man, Jones is a big boy. I mean, he's 6'5", 200 plus. He looks like a hooper, but he's got feet. Got really good feet.
What's funny, because I'm taller than him, but he dwarfs me, right?
Yeah, he does.
Makes me
I think two of you can fit inside
smaller.
of that, man. He's a big dude.
It's crazy. But how do you let him get so wide open on the back post? And I understand that, okay, maybe you don't necessarily have the same amount of size, but they're not by any means small.
Yeah.
Albonati, 6'1", Galena, 6'1". Even Van der Sar, not that you need to come off your line in that situation, but you got to be more vocal. Can't allow someone of that height to be that wide open.
Nice job by Louisville playing it out. Oh, spoke too soon. Of course, Walty breaks it up. Almeida on it. Back to Mirkovic. Abelnati. Enrique Galena, 16 in blue. Step forward there for a second. Nice move by Mirkovic. Ufo trying to play it through to Almeida, and, well, it's still live. Jacasson, been a little bit of quiet. How does he get more into this match as he tries to make a darting run through the middle? Answer that in a second. He's on the run. About to give it a ride, and he gets deflected out. Sample head up, good switch out to Barker John. Isolated with Abelnati. 1-2 with Rode. Eventually out. How do we get Jacasson more into the match?
Let's start with the positional issue that we talked about at the top of the game, right? Where it's so predictable in terms of where they're going to attack from. The front three are really isolated from the rest of the players on the field right now. So as Lucini comes in, he's going to be in the middle positions. Jacasson's isolated on this right-hand side. There's no fluctuation in terms of where the passing patterns are. So as a defender, you just keep the player in front of you. Really simple to follow. But I do go back to a piece of the conversation that we had with Jay Vitovich. He talked about, the Akron game, the Marshall game, how they were making it difficult on themselves because Jacques Son, they were almost looking to him too much. And
give him the ball
him out of the game.
Yeah.
He's not existent in the game right now.
Yeah.
I want him to go find the ball. So as a coach, he's going to be saying the same thing. It's one thing to be overutilized. It's another thing to be fully reprieved of your duties, which is what has gone on. Now, credit to Louisville. But they've made it very simple on themselves in terms of marking themselves out of the match. Just, here you go. We're going to stand right here, play it to his feet. You go mark him.
Getting close to 15 minutes left here in Louisville. Alongside Devin Kerr, I'm Dallin Cuff here in Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium. 1-0. The home team is up through a Abubakar Kamara goal 5 minutes into the match. And in this series history, Louisville has dominated 5-1, but that really is all skewed because before Vitovich came here, before Vitovich, BV, this program was not much of a program, but now Pitt is a perennial powerhouse, and Pitt won the last matchup in 2020. So far, Devin, what are your impressions 30 minutes in?
I was very happy with Louisville for the opening, really 20, 25 minutes. And the reason being, they just set themselves up right. There's a discipline about them right now that don't normally see, respectfully. It's not to say that the talent's not there, but that's the consistency factor that we've spoken about a couple of times within this game. And so as you do it, just keep going, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to hit the dressing room at halftime, and there's going to be a thrashing verbally by Vitovich to his Warriors and say, listen, we're here for a reason. We are in the top 10 for a reason. We have only one loss for a reason. Now go show everybody else why, because they haven't done that. So you need a presence up top. There needs to be a balance for sure. And right now, Louisville, they're happy. They're sitting on the lead. You want to make sure that the game's not taken from you, but they're certainly not giving it away either, which is a good thing.
Dunquaw dispossessed in a dangerous area. Lucini now runs onto it. He's got a lot of blue jerseys meeting him there. Lucini battling with Jones. Lays it off to Rosa. Back to Lucini. First time shot deflected. Are you surprised? Louisville's readying some more subs. We'll come to that in a second. That Vitovich has remained. This is the same starting 11 right now, and they've struggled through this game. Would you go to the bench a bit?
The problem that he's going to run into is on the attacking side, he doesn't really have that many options. The guys that have been injured or out of form. So you could look at someone like Michael Sullivan within the midfield, right? Okay, he's a possibility. He's also very young.
Almeida will, not give it a shot. Give it a shot, deflect it out, keep going.
Chef Ketty is one that comes to mind, the Farley Dickinson transfer who's come in this year. 4 appearances on the season. He's certainly got the accolades behind him. He was part of the 2018 All-NEC rookie team. Sam Cow is another one that as you start to move forward, he was the one who started the year as the preferred number 9. And so I'm a little surprised that it has gone this long. But again, Vitovich also understands that people can start flat, you can start slow, give them a chance to get into a rhythm. That has just never fully matriculated into the squad so far.
Okay, here we go. Here are your subs coming in right now. Brandon McManus and Pitt is about to make their first sub. McManus, the Kentucky transfer, is going to come in for the goal scorer, Kamara. David Bakuzo, who John Michael Hayden raved about, thought his performances have been very good, especially the last one against Florida Gulf Coast, comes in for Sonder Road. And there is your change up top. Luis Samkow comes in for Josh Lucini, and Samkow was the preferred starting number 9 until he ran into injury in recent weeks. This will be his 5th match of the season, and the 8 played by the Panthers. Nice back heel by Georgalitis. Back to Dunquaw. Looking to connect with McManus just as he came in the game. Doesn't get through.
Recognize with this change, you're not just asking more out of the number 9 position. Now you need more out of Mirkovic and Almeida, because Sam Cow, he will play the point man. He'll stretch this thing up, provide space up underneath. But now you have to ask the midfield to move higher, because even as they start to transition, balls that are given away, poor decisions down in the final third. I told you that I wanted to see more out of the units from Louisville. I'm actually making that argument for Pitt now. Because as they start to go, they are literally just taking steps on the field. The decision-making, the idea that you need to think and process at the same point in time is not happening.
And that pass by Mirkovic kind of summed it up. That's just an errant pass, a simple pass. Matty Walters is going to check in the match now. The senior Bowling Green transfer from Ohio. His 4th appearance of the season. He steps in for Philip Fredol. And while he jogs off, let's tell you about Sunday Best this week. Got a women's soccer doubleheader here on ACC Network. Virginia Tech takes on Wake Forest in Winston-Salem at 5 Eastern. Then it's off to Raleigh for NC State, hosting number 5 Duke. Both matches right here on ACC Network and, of course, the ESPN app. Walty. Yeah, contact with Barker John. John McCluskey, the official, was playing a little advantage and then pulled it back. Pitt sets their wall up. We've got Jorgalitis over it, and looks like Barker John from here. Jorgalitis to clip it in back post, looking for Jones. Fell to Quentin Elliott, but Walty got his boot on that first. Barker John runs it down. Gets end line. Can he get it centered? He cannot, but it goes off Vandersar for a corner. Is that little wry smile by you? What do you got?
Yeah, I told you, I like that little right foot combination. It is right, left, back and forth. What he does too is when he tacks you down onto the end line quickly, he squares his hips up. And as he squares, you're not exactly sure which direction he's going to go. That's one of the issues. When you get onto a right-footed player, you can see him start to pivot in favor. Same thing with the left. It's like a shooter in basketball, right? He doesn't do that.
Out swinging ball. Sample, second bite of the cherry, but right into the arms of Vandersar. He's going to try to release Jacasson quickly. Gets caught up in the air like my pitching wedge. Usually lands in water, though. That's more me.
You know, if we had lives, we would figure out, respectfully, we would figure out.
We don't have them.
No, we don't. Oh, boy.
Sam Cow offside.
We would figure out how to maneuver some rounds in together on the road, but that's.
We'll take this offline in a terrible TV,
there you go.
Business world term I have. But I have some thoughts coming up in the couple weeks ahead.
Okay.
Got some Friday morning options. Another sub coming on, getting ready for Pitt, as Sam Cow was the only sub so far. Noah Hall's going to join the fray here momentarily with 8 minutes to go in the first half. Galena battling with McManus. Galena again, Brazilian-born. Pinged over the top to Jorgalitis. Squared up with another Brazilian, Rosa. Good help by Mirkovic. John McCloskey saying, let's play it quicker here. It's Quentin Elliott, the freshman from West Virginia, about to take another throw.
Oh, the good old days.
Oh, yeah.
When life was actually life. It's so much simpler, right? Not a care in the world.
You come to sporting events just to play your own game.
Fully convinced that at the age of 9 years old, I was a nationally ranked hill roller.
9 years old, I was going to be the NBA. My plan was to be the NBA and then do it and then go broadcast
different
games.
Strokes for different folks, man. Look at them. Oh, offset piece on the right foot on a hill. It's combining sports now. Look at him. Oh, now it's monkey in the middle. Another sport that I was originally known for.
I'm sure you are absolutely a legend. Jorgalitis to take the corner. Outswinger. Headed down, Jacasson on it. They can counter. John Michael Hayden was concerned about that. And Noah Hall will come in the match. Now the freshman from Cincinnati had his first career goal last match. Gave them the lead, actually, against Akron. Gave them the 3-2 lead, 50th minute mark. But then that went away quickly as the Zips tied it up. He'll be on the right side, sends Jack Hassan over to the left side. Comes in for Mateo Maufo, Frenchman.
I like the idea here, though, because as you move Jack Hassan over to the left, the way that this team likes to attack, and especially in their pressing patterns, Dallin, Rodrigo Almeida will come out of the midfield, and he comes high on that left-hand side, right over the shoulder of the number 9 position that's occupied by Sam Cow right now. Almost drops into 4 in the midfield at times, but as you go, now all of a sudden you've got that 3-man attack because you've got the 9, Jacques Hassan, and then Almeida comes and puts a lot more pressure on the pairing of Jones and Walters on that right flank.
And Gilman's able to save a corner there. And there is Hall. Looking for a long throw. Hall got to kind of defend it there. McCloskey has an issue, and he's going now. It brandish a yellow card, the first one of the match. It's going to go to Elliott, the freshman. Don't see that every day. I don't know if it's really time wasting right now. It's just taking forever to throw the ball in. But that's your outside back now on a yellow. All pinged in by Bakuzo. Jack Hassan, first entry in the match on the left side, goes past Dunqua. Klosky will call a foul for that contact. There is Jack Hassan, freshman of the year in 2020. First team All ACC last year. He's got 45 points in 43 career matches. Pretty impressive, more than a point a game. Rosa, first time ball played in. Sam Cow arrives. Can't hit the target. This is what they did to Akron. They were down 2-0. They scored 2 goals in 2 minutes and tied it up to go to break.
They had opportunities in the Marshall game as well. And when you're off your mark, all of a sudden, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's just a brief glimpse. And those opportunities, very similar. I would make the argument that in those two specific games,
jogadaça do Lucas Rosa ali na ponta direita. E os narradores já falaram mais de uma vez, ainda mais para quem acompanhou a live, que a gente viu o vídeo do Lucas. O Lucas, ele era um volante ofensivo que chegava bem na frente, tem velocidade. Só que quando ele foi para Pitt, ele está sendo utilizado na lateral direita. Então, de novo, agora ele com a bola aqui. Boa bola, quebrando linha. Ele fez essa adaptação, coisa que a gente sempre fala. Você saber jogar em mais de uma posição vai te ajudar bastante. Os volantes de Pitt, tem o número 24, esse Walt, que foi seleção de conferência, deve ser draftado, então seria difícil ele conquistar uma vaga ali de volante, só que na lateral direita ele tem sido titular e joga o jogo inteiro, então ele está aproveitando essa oportunidade.
As we look down the line here, we can see Louisville defending. What are you noticing?
It's the setup, and it's almost identical to what Marshall did. I told you coming in, you know, why I liked defensively what the matchup could be. John Michael Hayden talked about it, and they're doing it right now. They recognize that there's some momentum coming, so they've dropped into this 4-1-4-1.
Jack Hassan has a chance. Early ball played in, too close to the hands of Troutman.
What that does is, as the holding midfielder drops underneath, you've basically done a couple of things. One, your 2 strikers come in as well. So they've become outside midfielders that are more defensive-minded. You keep the game in front of you. So it's pressure distribution-wise coming off the back line. Then for the attackers for Pitt, all of a sudden, you're not just crowded by the back line itself, especially for Sam Cow, who's up top. You've got Bradley Sample, who's dropped down underneath deep.
Barker John tried to combine there with McManus, but didn't come off.
It's such a deep move because you've compressed the field into that formation. And really, it's a different style as well for Louisville, and it's in a 40-yard span. Now, I'm not just talking about them. Now you have to take all the Pitt players, throw them into their attacking shape.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the argument's, 19, 20 players in a 40 to 50-yard gap?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more difficult to play in these small spaces.
Tight. Gilman's pass, left it short. See if Louisville can make something out of this. Oh, good first touch by Barker John to lay it to Bakuza, but Bakuza couldn't connect back with him. Almeida head up, looking for Jack Hassan. Jones read it very well, but now he's out. And good clean play, John McCloskey says. Barker John the other way, 44 seconds to go in the half. Walters. He's down and it's out. Louisville's very content to let this thing ride out here into the half at home with a 1-0 lead. They were up 1-0 against Duke as well here in this building in a top 10 team in Duke. Fell 2-1 in that match. We'll see the second 45 is any different. What are your thoughts on the first 45?
Just say that the disposition about Louisville was pretty impressive. And even though they got their goal and allowed Pitt to work in towards the tail end of it, bunkered in defensively, held their form, got into halftime with the lead. Most important thing.
They are up 1-0 at the break through that man. Abubakar Kamara scored a goal in the 5th minute of the match. We're now joined by John Michael Hayden, the coach of the Cards. Coach, you're up 1-0 at the break. You told us this week, concerned about Pitt in transition. Everybody's always concerned about their offensive attack. They have 0 shots on goal. Why were you so successful at slowing them down?
Well, I don't like the fact that we had to defend so much, quite honestly. Our possession was poor. We needed to maintain a little bit more composure when we finally got it in there. And obviously, I'm happy about the goal, but a little bit disappointed in our possession in the final third.
Coach, you talked about how you had to defend so much. Some of that was very distinct, and I saw shades of the way that Marshall set up against Pitt. You guys dropped down in that little 4-1, but maybe to a fault at certain points in time. How do you switch that? How do you walk in and say, okay, well, we've shored things up here, but we still have to have a presence on the other end with our attacking boys?
Again, it goes back to keeping the ball a little bit more. I think we got to make them defend. I mean, we're playing everything in transition, which is fine, right? But once we get up, we don't have to always go. We got to make them defend. They'll also have to get back on the ball, and I think once we do that, it'll be in our favor a little bit better.
Any major concern whatsoever in terms of depth as the game goes on and maybe running the horses too much? Is that something that you run into your mind, or in a game like this, do you just stick with your guys and let it go?
My depth is one of my strengths, so there's no concern there.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
John Michael Hayden's crew 1-1-1 this season when scoring first. We'll see what that looks like in the second 45. We come back there. We're going to look around this league. Way too early, Mac Herman candidates in the ACC. That's next.
Legal, né? Tem até uma certa entrevista com o treinador de Louisville, botou o fone lá. Então é isso, 1-0, Pitt não teve nenhum chute ao gol, mas tem aquelas jogadas de linha de fundo que acabaram chutando para fora, que foram perigosas. Como a gente sempre faz agora, eu vou soltar a transmissão normal no intervalo, só que eu vou tirar o áudio para não ter problema quando rodar comercial e tudo mais. Quando voltarem os narradores, eu vou soltando o áudio, beleza? Então, segundo tempo a gente volta. Vamos ver. 45 minutos já foram, jogaço. Para quem tá querendo entender o nível do college, isso aí é o top do top, ACC, enfim, jogaço. Já a gente volta.
The Mac Herman Trophy finalist from last year. Give me my phone.
Olha aí, falhas de transmissão. Provavelmente eles estão achando que está no intervalo, mas não está. Então, enfim. Bom para ver bastidores, quem gosta aí de estudar jornalismo, quer ir para o lado de de narração, o jornalismo esportivo. Acho que agora eles estão percebendo que está ao vivo ainda.
Silla or Diop were not watchlist guys?
Yeah.
What?
Who was it?
Nobody from Clemson.
No, I mean, who were the semifinalists last year? Or the winners or anything?
Eles estão até conversando sobre
Jasper Loffelson.
estatística, alguma coisa que o da direita tá vendo no celular, mas acho que até agora eles ainda não entenderam que eles estão ao vivo.
the home team cars. So Abubakar Kamara goal in the 5th minute. Devin and Dallin here for you. Now, the game of the weekend in college soccer is Clemson Wake. Now, in American football, they'll play a pretty big game early in the day, but in the world's football at night, it is a top 10 clash. This Wake team is number 1 in the nation. They haven't played a ranked team yet. Clemson, they lost last week. We were there. They missing some key guys in that game. Usman Silla, Hamadi Diop. Hopefully those guys are back tomorrow night because they make a difference.
Last year, you and I sat in this exact same situation, and you asked me about Clemson, and I said, I haven't seen anything from them yet. Yeah, they went on to win the national title. but there's a point from behind that, right? So as we get into the preview, we're going to talk about a couple of guys specifically, but we're also going to talk big picture for these two teams. So let's talk about the specificities for the Clemson Tigers and Usman Silla. I made the argument that Peter Stroud, within the last halftime break, is the best player in the country. This is the best attacking option in the country within the final third, and it's because of his creativity. 4 goals and 5 assists. That's through 7 games, by the way, so that's pretty impressive. 2.17 points per game, first in the ACC. That is the best conference in college soccer, and he just runs through it. He drops down into the pocket. He's comfortable on any flank. His ability to cut on a dime on that left foot, dishing it out, finding players on the back post. He's got a resilience and a patience about him that you can't teach. It's just something that's within the player. And the matchup overall is interesting to me because when you have a guy like that who just sits up top, this matchup's pretty close. 24, 20, and 8 all time, which favors Wake. But in the last 5, it's 2-2-1. Only one of those games has been scoreless. So you're going to see goals within this. So defensively, what do you do as you set yourself up here? Because Wake's got one of the best offenses in the country. Clemson has struggled on the defensive front. Hamadi Diop, best defender in the nation. Told you that already. But he has been unavailable since the 13th minute versus USC Upstate. So all we've really seen out of him this season is the fact that he's been able to go up against a hard-nosed Indiana and help lead his team to victory.
We've seen this Clemson team a couple times this year on national TV. This is Wake's first maybe coming out appearance. What should people know?
Trace Elfin in goal, Prince Aponsa on the back line, Garrison Tubbs at center back spot. Roland Mitchell is the name that is going to jump out at everybody because of his productivity. In 8 games, he's got 6 goals and 2 assists, 14 points. That's first in the ACC. Now, he doesn't lead in points per game because he's played more games. This is a guy who, coming through the Red Bull Academy, was he going to be an outside back, play as a winger? Now, all of a sudden, he's at the top of this 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 for Bobby Muse in Wake Forest, and he has to be the guy. He's replacing Kyle Holcomb, who was everything for that Wake Forest program. So he's got it all on his shoulders. He's young, but he's embracing it. And he lets everybody else around him do the work. And namely, one of my favorite players within them is the freshman. And his name is Cooper Flax. Why? A couple of reasons. He's the number 23 player in the country recruiting-wise. As you bring him in, when you are that named player coming into Bobby Muse, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because that program runs deep, right? He's an NYCFC guy who spends every single year within preseason. He captains the academy squad. But for me, it's the freedom and the responsibility that Bobby Muse gives him within the system because he lets him roam, just like Silla. He lets him say, listen, you can stretch over there, you can jump over there, because defensively, we will remain as compact as possible within this. It's the 7th time in the last 7 years that we've seen these teams both within the top 10. That's not too shabby. And basically what we're saying is what you're going to get out of this is a really, really good game and goals from some of the best players in the country. But one player I want you to keep an eye on for Wake Forest, it's Takuma Suzuki. And it's because of the fact that within the midfield, he has to do so much. I just talked about Cooper.
Legal esse clipe que eles mostraram. Amanhã tem esse jogaço da Wake Forest contra Clemson. Wake Forest hoje é a atual número 1 do país e a Clemson era a número 1 do país no ranqueamento passado. Ela acabou perdendo para Syracuse, então caiu um pouco no ranking. Só que esse jogo amanhã, provavelmente, o que vencer vai ser o próximo número 1 do país. O jogo é amanhã, eu tô com alguns compromissos, acho que eu não vou conseguir fazer a transmissão desse jogo, mas vai ser um jogaço, Clemson contra Wake Forest.
understand that. This is not the Pitt team we've known and expected to see. We'll see if that flips around in the second half. What's that like when you go into break? In different sports are different ways. What's it like in a soccer game when you go to halftime and you've just been almost non-existent for 45 minutes? So the team you usually are.
See, this is the part where I get paid to not speak the way that I would off camera.
Well, I would edit yourself, but
you walk into a dressing room and go, oh, no. I mean, that's really, as a player, the situation that you're in, because you know that there's going to be a vengeance that's put upon you, and you don't know how long that's going to last. Because let's be clear, they've got 45 minutes to right their wrongs.
Mm-hmm.
But the performance they just put in, that's going to last literally an eternity this season, because he will constantly go back to that.
Yeah.
He will look at your individual performance, the team performance, and he's also going to make you run a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So putting that fear of quote unquote God into you, right? Because Vitovich is the main guy. He's the deity that sits atop everything. And that fear, though, also helps drive you to really special places. So as a player, sometimes that's what you need. I was a big fan of playing for guys who were in my face. He's still teaching on the sideline right now, talking to his players, because as soon as you start to press, I mentioned earlier, there's a reason that they're recruited to schools like this, top 10, top 15, top 25 programs in the nation. For Pitt, that argument is usually within the top 10 and national title contender. You come here because so much is asked of you. So when you come that flat, expect to be yelled at, expect a better performance in the second half, and most importantly, expect an identity, because to Coach's point, he doesn't recognize them.
Yeah, they have been unrecognizable, and if you're just joining the match, one of their key guys, Valentin Noel, their talisman is not playing. Bertrand Jacasson, his French compatriot, is playing on the ball right now. And those two combined for 38 goals in their careers. It's most in the ACC for any duo. But without Noel in this team, you're missing a guy that can sometimes change a game on his own. And they left in some of their subs. Jacasson remains on the left side. Noah Hall, number 13 in blue on the far part of your screen. He's up in the right forward spot. Louis Samkow playing through the middle. Those were subs within the match. They were not starters. See if they can maintain a little bit of the energy they brought. Because would you say the last 10 minutes were a little bit better? As we mentioned, Noel, those are his numbers and success he's had.
Much better, because you finally started to work your way into a match, and that's fine. Like, you're going to get moments. Everybody finds a moment. But as long as you represent a window, a vision of what can be. Mm-hmm. I mentioned to you coming in the game how this was a much more important game for Louisville compared to Pitt. That's not knocking Pitt or their resume or anything, of course. It's just that we've seen them play at a really high level already, and we haven't seen that from Louisville. And, to John Michael Hayden's comments going off air, he said, my depth is my biggest asset. You're going to get tested right now and figure that out. Mm-hmm. I was specifically referencing the defensive side, because so much pressure, I promise you, is coming right now. You're already starting to see it. Look how much they're on the ball, the rotation. This is going to last the entire second half. Can you maintain what we saw in the first?
Jacasson just strolled offside there. And to your point, Pitt beat the number 2 team in the nation to start their season. Georgetown, they beat the number 6 team at the time at home, WVU 3-0, in a game that was non-competitive. Now, WVU's season has not planned out like many thought. They drew Akron 3-3 in their last match. It was a top 20 game. They lost to Marshall, who's a top 10 team and really talented, the national champion from 2020, down at Marshall, and it became a better game in the second half. But overall, they've been tested. They've proven at the highest level. Louisville's been tested a lot too. Maybe not as proven it as much, and that was your point early on. And one other ACC game going on, or went on tonight, I guess. And NC State won. Luke Hilly had the game winner for George Kiefer's crew, 1-0. They get their first conference win of the season. 4 matches tomorrow night, and of course highlighted by that top 10 clash we talked about at halftime. Clemson hosting Wake Forest. The orange wall should be out in full effect as the number 1 team in the nation, Wake Forest, plays their first ranked opponent, Clemson, on the road. See if they can possess the ball, the cards more. That's what John Michael Hayden said they wanted him to do, and on cue, it goes out of bounds.
Speaking of not going well, Virginia Tech 1-6-1 now. That was a top 25 team to start the nation. Georgetown, another one that's starting to fall down. West Virginia is what you began with. It's always funny the way that we base I say that politely because we don't get a vote, yeah. but the way that the rankings are based, because it's basically on your resume from the year prior, right?
United Soccer Coaches poll. Bertrand Jacquesson creates an opportunity, roofs it, and it's in the back of the net. We said he could produce that moment of magic, and he did it right there. The Frenchman, his 4th goal of his career, of the season, 15th of his career, and we are locked up at 1.
We talked about speed and vision at the onset of this game, but as he starts to push into the final third, watch what he does with his hips here, because this is a right footer. As he plucks this out of the air so casually, you've given too much space. Look at defensively what you've done. Philip Fredol, you're much too open in this situation. I respect the fact that you want to push him to the end line, but you can't come that far open. You allow him to push in. That may not be his dominated foot, but he just dominated that 20 yards of space to get them back to even.
Man, that kid is special. And we just saw why there. You saw the touch, you saw the move, the change of pace, and then the finish. And now we'll see how this Louisville team responds. Again, this is a similar script to what happened at Duke. They're up 1-0 in this building. Ended up losing 2-1. Big switch to Noah Hall. Freshman got his first goal of his career in that Akron game last match to put them up 3-2. An eventual 3-3 draw. Ball played in. Too much on it. Some dudes are just fun to watch, man. He's electric.
Lightning in a bottle, right? I mean, that's how quick he strikes, and we've seen it since the
Golaço
first game
desse
this season.
camisa 10. Ele já
Every single
tem
year, though, he's
colecionado
got better, and
alguns
that's a guy,
prêmios
really good
individuais.
example is
Temporada
he started to
passada
progress.
já foi melhor
I say as a
freshman
professional
da
because
ACC.
he came up through
Então é um
Strasbourg,
cara
and
que está ali
you come the
batendo para
collegiate
fazer a
route,
transição
the
para o
old school thought
profissional.
was their careers are done.
Golaço,
That's not the
chutaço
case
de
anymore.
esquerda, ele é
You and I
destro.
have had multiple
Enfim,
conversations
1-1
in
e
depth
lembrar
about
o que eu falei na
the
transmissão
opportunities
do
for the
jogo
international
passado
players
de
coming over.
Kentucky
Some
com
of them,
Marshall.
most of them,
Aquela
I should
regra
say,
do jogo
who have
empatado
such a
na
unique
fase
background
regular
with the
e
academy
pro
play,
gol de ouro, pro
opportunities to train with the
overtime,
first team,
não
all the
tem mais na
U23s, and all of a sudden they come
NCAA-D1.
here, they
Então,
get an
se acabar
education.
1-1,
Tactically, they're so
realmente
smart.
empate,
That guy
acaba
was,
por aí e um ponto para cada
speed,
equipe.
put him in space, let him run. Then it was put him in space, let him run, and okay, he can find balls and distribute. And now all of a sudden, he's a proven goal scorer that just beat 1-on-1s, 1v2s. He does everything.
Take a look at some of the Panthers in the pros, and they lost 6 guys off last year's team that were now playing the professional ranks. One of them, to your point, Jasper Loffelson, thought his career was over in Germany, comes over here to the States, is basically 22 years old, plays 2 years, defensive player of the other conference twice. Now he's playing for Real Salt Lake, getting a lot of minutes. This ball falls to Dunkwa. Big shot, still loose, and just wide off the deflection, really. But Kumbaba didn't know much about it, but almost just turned it in the net.
Very difficult save here from Van der Sar. As this ball comes back across, he's stuck. Because the goalkeeper, you're not sure with that move right there. Is he going to try and beat me on the near post? So you have to stay tight. At the same point in time, he's got to be cognizant of the fact that he's got Ba and Kamara over the right shoulder. You know, you don't want him to spill the ball right down the middle in that situation down, but at the same point in time, he's got to cover so much ground. I commend him for being able to handle the combination.
Kumbaba, Senegal native, almost just scored a goal that would have been fortunate, really, would have deflected right in, but just wide, a game of inches, as we always say. All crossed in, headed up high. Ba on it again. Back to Dunkwa. Jorgalidis tries to skip it past Abelnati, but Walty's right there after heavy touch. Rhodes' little flick to Kamara doesn't come off. Sam Cowell tries to bring it down, does so successfully. Got Jack Hassan, pings it out to him. Didn't handle it cleanly. Ba turns it over. Couldn't get his feet sorted. Almeida able to turn past Bryce LaBelle. He's got Hall to his right. He'll cut back to his left. Mirkovic. Hall in space. Rosa. Walty. Abelnadi. Drilled out to Jack Hassan. 1v1 with Fredall. Abelnadi will whip it in. Good spell of possession here by the Panthers. Abelnadi trying to play it over the top to Jack Hassan. He does just that. The header too much on it.
Don, I want to take you back to the goal here for a second, because as a defender, you want to show a player space. You don't want to give it to him, and that's the difference. Watch the hips again. As you've gotten side by side here, now you've given yourself the freedom of speed because you can turn quickly. The problem is, look at all of the space that he gives over his right shoulder. Jacques Hassan just says, you're going to give that to me. I'm happy to put it on my weaker, I use the quote unquote as nicely as possible, left foot, and just roofs it. And that's one of the things that when you get into the film room, that's really easy to correct.
And that said, though, Philip Fredall, the freshman, is back on the pine pretty quickly, as Jack Hassan looked like he could have been dangerous there again. Matty Walters, the senior, the transfer from Bowling Green, gets back into that spot and see if he can handle Jack Hassan a little bit better than Fredall did early on in this second half.
This is also the argument that I was making going into halftime, coming out of it. It's not the depth for the team, it's the depth on the back line. Because of the amount of situations you're going to face, you're going to cover a lot of mileage over the next 50-plus minutes. Can you maintain the rotation when things don't go your way? Do you have the ability in terms of depth to substitute and maintain a high quality?
Lena lets it stay in play. Jorgalitis picks it up. Jorgalitis now a little bit of space. That was a dangerous ball played in. Hall showing some patience to collect it there. We're not myopic here. We like to take you around the country in college soccer too. So we got a ranked matchup going on in the Big Ten. Michigan State locked it up 1-1 against Indiana. Todd Yeagley's crew. Keep you updated on that one as well. Maybe an opportunity for Kamara. He thought he was dragged down. John McCloskey, the referee, says no.
Watch out.
Uh-oh, is right. Jack Hassan and Walters in a battle. Oh, Walters gets skinned there. Can he eat the next defender? No. Ball falls to the feet of Sam Cowell. Mirkovic has Noah Hall to his right. His pass pulled him back a bit.
Dal, I'm not sure if that was your first experience when we came out here earlier today and we're watching Pitt go through their walkthrough. Guys running through without the ball, right?
Go ahead.
Just
I was going to ask
fun running around.
You know what it looked? It looked like above the rim.
Yeah, right.
They're playing without
There
a
you
ball.
go.
Like, anybody can do anything without a ball, but they were working their patterns of play. I noticed that.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Notice, tell me that right now, if you remove the ball from the field, the motions are exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's a stark difference from what you saw in the first half. It's rapidity of play, it's vision, it's the willingness to attack on one-on-one situations. Vitovich talked about having to introduce himself to his team at halftime because there was literally nothing of what he normally sees in terms of disposition and patterns of play. That argument's over, I promise you.
Yeah, it was pretty funny as I was thinking about above the rim while I was watching. But you see what they're doing, and we're seeing what Bertrand Jack Hassan's doing his thing too.
Cut back across. Remember, defensively, I just said that you can't square yourself back up. Actually thought he got megged, but just in behind. That's just pure athleticism. Longer legs, change of pace, change of play.
Rode looking for the switch to Ba. They connect. He floats it in. Kamara got a little bit of space, but the ball didn't have anything on it. So Abelnani can get in there and get his bigger frame on it. Ba flicks it. Beach ball. Somebody's going to bring it down at some point. It's Rode. Plays it forward. Can Walters get there? He does. Drives it back post, but to no one. Elliott. Gets to that right foot. Driven in, deflects, falls to Georgalitis, and there's the lead for the Cards. Flag stays down, and the freshman gets his 3rd goal of the season at a huge time. Joe Vandersar can't believe it. A little bit against the run of play. A deflected ball and the technical skill of Georgalitis on display.
He's the wild card within this team on the front line, though, because as an attacking option, you never know where he's going to pop up. Just talk positionally. You play him on the left, play him on the right. You'll drop him into a 10 and even an 8 at times. But as he does, there's a quality that comes along with this player. 9 times out of 10, you lace that thing from that close in proximity, you're putting it in the parking lot. Instead, drops that left shoulder, comes back across it, and puts this team back out in front.
He's having a fantastic rookie campaign. 3rd goal of the season and a big one, to say the least. The freshman from Cyprus made his pro debut.
Cruzamento desviado ali, né? E
for
o
his club.
camisa 27 de Louisville pegou muito bem. O filho do Van der Sar ali ainda desviou um pouquinho, mas enfim. Quando o Pitt estava controlando muito mais a partida, depois do empate, Pitt ficou com a bola, rodou, teve uma chance ali com camisa 10 que adiantou um pouco mais a bola. Mas é isso, voltamos 2-1 Louisville, faltando aí 29, praticamente 30 minutos. Vamos ver. Rodrigo tentando, o Rodrigo tá jogando entre a linha de ataque de volante ali, mas tá bem isolado, né? Não tá achando ninguém para trabalhar com ele. Talvez o Guilherme pudesse entrar ali no meio campo também. Enfim, 2-1, vamos continuar, faltando aí 30 minutos para acabar o jogo.
If you're John Michael Hayden, who is absolutely stalking the sidelines right now. He was the first one. He walked over to all of his staff, shook hands, little nod of approval, and then immediately walked over to his players and started to talk about how to go get another one, how to make sure that we're not giving up as many chances as we have at the start of this second half. Told you coming in that this game was more important for Louisville than Pitt. It's because of the fact that the teams that they've been matched up against so far, they've fallen short against the better squads. It's been that simple. And yet just inside 30 minutes to go, they are now the aggressor and the leader.
Bertan Jacasson did take a little breather that we showed you him on the bench. That's who Mayufo came back in for. Dunkwall going for the spectacular. That's not coming off. And David Bakuzo is going to check back in the match. See who he takes out. Eric Dunkwall. Bakuzo, the freshman from Orlando. Part of the Orlando City SC Academy. And played some for their Orlando City SC B team in MLS Next. Again, Bakuzo got praise heaped on him by John Michael Hayden for his performances recently. Turnover, possibly in a dangerous area. Laid off to Rode. Can he get a shot off? He can't. Bakuzo moves it. Rode, a little room of bit of space. Shoots it, deflects. Nice move by Mayufo. Looking for Lucini, left short. Ugo Achara actually also checked in. 10 white right there, leading the line now. Senior from Northwestern, transfer his 2nd year here with Louisville. He's a former All Big Ten player. Out to Nico Diaz. Diaz will take a shot. Holy cow, from a Tough angle. Almost made this thing 3.
He's got a pretty interesting route, too. Went to a virtual high school, Orlando City, Inter Miami. But within it, it's the goal-scoring capability because he's a 9 by nature, but you move him to the outside. That's a guy who scored 44 goals in 65 academy appearances for Orlando City. That's not too shabby. I'm sure that Phil Neville and everybody else down at the Inter Miami program are quite happy. There's a scout here in the stands tonight. Maybe he's having a look.
Oh, nice move by Bakuzo first, and Georgalitis almost pulled off a little move there as well. There's complaints looking for a corner there, not going to get it. And that goal really has spurred this game. Look, the complexion of this game has totally changed, not just the score line.
This is what you expect out of a top 25 ACC matchup, right? The back and forth that you're getting right now, the levels come up high. The intensity has started to rise. The physicality has followed. And most importantly, the tactical side of things has still sat there, and I'm happy about that. A lot of times, Dallin, when energy starts to supersede performance, it can get in the way of decision-making and kind of just like looks like a discombobulated mess. That's not the case right now.
Road whips it in. Bakuzo collects. He'll try to send it back into cross it over to Georgalitis. Georgalitis looking for Ugo. Charo working on Galena. Low ball driven in. Falls to Georgalitis off the post. Inches wide of almost putting this thing to bed. He can't believe it.
Credit to both Achara and Georgalitis on this because the 1v1 and the ball back across, you don't quit on it. Notice on the goal, he's the high point on the right-hand side. Now all of a sudden he drops off and he's the secondary option and run for Louisville coming back through. That's tremendous vision, by the way, as the ball bounces back out to take a step and then come back across the body to the far post.
Kuzo goes down hard if able to flick that header on. Georgalitis driving at the back line. Lays it off for Diaz. Pass does not connect. Deflection. Road might get there. He will. He's dangerous playing that ball in the box. Looking back post. Arriving, but Van der Sar with a big save. Turnover, dangerous area. Georgalitis, 1v1. Shot deflected. Pitt not really getting back in numbers. How does Pitt regain any control? Because right now this field feels slanted.
You're just weathering it right now. You got to get on the ball more and start to push out of this pressure. Just go beat one player, play right through, and then all of a sudden you can start to reset your lines. It's no different than a positional advantage within a football game.
And on the sub here, Damien Barker John coming back in to the match. And just to tell you what happened in that final game, the final Michigan State-Indiana, 1-1. Michigan State 0-3-1 now against ranked opponents. Can't get themselves a big win, but they'll take a point from that game. And the goal scorer, Georgalitis, comes to the bench for Barker John. This is some of that offensive attacking depth that John Michael Hayden was talking about. And Bertrand Jacasson, the goal scorer for Pitt, waiting to come back in the match as well. Abelnadi and Road battling. Abelnadi wins it. Transfer from Notre Dame, second season at Pitt. Jones able to keep it in. Walters quickly played. It's touched by Walty. Good work by Barker John. Oh, quick feet and no call there. And John Michael Hayden is down out of his technical area. I don't think he's too happy about that. Foul?
I thought it was a slip, to be honest.
Okay.
There's a little bit of contact, but it looked like as he started to go to ground, his body had already insinuated the motion. Just watch his footing on the backside of it. As you come back through right here, so you know he dives 100%.
Well, they got a restart. He just took the foul there, and that one was called. Now, Saunders Road, dangerous area to put it in.
That's also a good example, though, when you were asking how do you get out of it. I said you got to play through the first line of pressure and then reset yourself. You also just have to let the ball go. Yeah. You don't need 4 touches 20 yards from your own net. Take a touch in front of you. If any is necessary to settle and set yourself up, ping this thing 50 yards down the field. Everybody pushes back up. Even though you've given the possession of ball to Louisville, you've also come higher. It's more difficult to come 70 yards than it is to come 20.
Dangerous area, but Guillermo Feitosa, who's joined the match, number 7 in blue, got it out of there. Low ball driven. Diaz again gets a good shot off. Van der Sar there, 7th save of the match for the son of the former legend, Edwin Van der Sar. Can't be a former legend, the legend.
Still living.
He's alive. My bad. He's alive. He's the CEO of IX, best club in the Netherlands. My fault. Barker John on it. Looking for Bakuzo. Nice pass. Oh, good ball back. Barker John couldn't get on it because Walty was there. Shots on goal, 9-1 right now. Louisville is leading. He dominated the first half in many respects, got the first goal. Pitt dominated the first 20 minutes or so, 15 minutes of this second half. But since that goal by Georgalitis at the 61st minute mark, this game has been owned by the Cards. Van der Sar plays it out. That's not what he was trying to do. Bertan Jacasson still standing there on the sidelines, patiently waiting. Not patient a minute ago. Literally, his hand was in his mouth, biting his fingernails. Saying, "Can I get back on the field, please?" They have to possess the ball and for it to go out before he can come back in. If you're just new to college soccer, you get 1 exit and re-entry in the second half. Elliott head up, looking to play it in. Just kind of floated in there. Still got the big center back Josh Jones up there. He tried to head it down to Ashara. Battle between Abdelnadi and Barker John. And Walters goes right to the back of Maufo. And Jacasson still not in the match. Why did he not go? What could he not into there?
Didn't understand it either. Fourth official's got the hand up. Referee just waved it off. It's a no-fly zone.
And there goes the goal scorer, Bertan Jacasson, who beautiful goal in the 51st minute to tie this matchup. He comes back in. He will be replacing Owen Hall. The freshman makes way. Now we switch sides. So Jacasson's going to be playing on the right. Maufo goes over to the left. Brandon McManus comes in for Ugo Achara, the Kentucky transfer McManus.
You saw some glimpses from Ugo Achara. They're just working his way back in. He's trying to find a way to get some fitness underneath his belt. Only his second appearance on the year.
Yeah, made his debut last game in that 1-0 win on the road to Florida Gulf Coast. He's had some injury issues and away from the team for a bit, but now he's back, getting back into full health, as you mentioned. Jacasson. Jerkovic, good turn. Lucini's pass, not what he was looking for. Walty driving through the midfield, still Walty. Oh,
give it up.
Yeah.
Just gonna let the ball. Roses on the right side. Jackerson on this left flank, asking for the ball down into the channel.
Quick break, tell you about some American football this week on ACC Network. You got Pitt hosting Rhode Island, starts today on ACCN at noon. Then Tyler Van Dyke and Miami coming off that loss on the road at Texas A&M, take on Middle Tennessee State. And the day is capped off by the primetime matchup. BC is in Tallahassee to take on Florida State. 3-0 Florida State for the first time in quite some time. All three games are also available on the ESPN app. Our entire ACC Huddle crew is down there. It'll be a great experience. 8 o'clock Eastern is kickoff. A couple different subs here for Pitt. Michael Sullivan comes in for Galena. Are we looking at a change of shape? Are we going up for attacker for a defender there?
Well, the idea would be that Feitosa is going to drop onto the back line. He was actually now right back. Started as a center back against Maryland last year. Even though he's more of an 8'10", he has that shape about him that you can just push him in there and not miss a beat.
Road looking back post, and big Josh Jones is up there. And it goes out for a corner.
The problem is he's primarily in those situations on the right-hand side. And that's probably one of the bigger differences here, because as a player, when you're used to playing a position, you can always go back to it, but you've also flipped the side of the field too. Yeah. So we're not saying, hey, go play right back where you used to be. It's on the left side. You also bring Abelnati back in, who is a left center back as well. But it's a whole new genetic makeup within the back four for Jay Vitovich.
Road, fourth corner of the match, outswinging ball, driven in low, cleared out. Jackerson trying to win the race. Walters wins the race. And there's some arguments about who has the ball. And John McCloskey, actually, the near side AR, Chad Collins, didn't have a good look at it. Looked at McCloskey, the center official, who made the call. There's Feitosa now with the throw in. And Feitosa, the sophomore from Brazil, they get it turned over. And Parker John, nowhere to go, runs out of room. Just under 15 minutes to go here from Louisville, Kentucky, alongside Devin Kerr. I'm Dallin Cuff, 2-1. The Cards are up over the Pitt Panthers. The Cards looking for their second-ranked win of the season. Pitt, this is their fifth-ranked matchup of the year. They're 2-1 so far, or 2-1-1, I should say, so far in those games. But right now, they find themselves down because of a Konstantinos Georgalitis goal in the 61st minute that broke the deadlock after Bertan Jackerson scored in the 51st minute, but things started off by Abubakar Kamara in the 5th. So it's been a back-and-forth game, both on the scoreboard and on the pitch, Devin. Feitosa battling. Eventually loses out. Now he wins this. All ACC freshman team, Feitosa last year, 7 in blue. Throws up to Jackerson, the goal scorer. Oh, his feet tangled. He goes down hard. And he hit his head on the turf and is down holding his head. Never want to see that. And no card there for the infringement, says John McCloskey. Jackerson is on his feet now. And because he was fouled, he can come out of the match and re-enter. Doesn't receive any treatment. Now, we mentioned the ranked games. Take a look at the strength of schedule.
Ouch.
I mean, both these teams play an absolute gauntlet, and Pitt has had more success so far this year. Kentucky and Duke knocked off this Louisville team previously.
The good news for both of these teams, and more importantly for Louisville in this situation, is that they don't have the same pedigree that Pitt does. It's that simple. The resume from previous years, there's a reason that Pitt is ranked so high. So as you look at these schedules, they come into the game, they're 4-2-1. They've already set themselves up. You get a win like this tonight, this is something that makes the committee think come tournament time that, okay, not only have you done it, but you've been able to do it even in spots against the best in the country. That's the most important thing, because some teams are just, they're going to rattle off 13, 14 victories, 2, 3, 4 losses, what have you. But can you do it against the best opposition in the country? Louisville stepped up so far tonight. I'll give them that.
No doubt about it. This would be a huge win, program win, to have a top 10 win over a Pitt team that, again, has become a perennial national power. But that's where Louisville's working their way back to. And this is, again, a young team, a lot of freshmen and sophomore playing at key spots and key minutes for this team as Abelnati pings it over to Rosa. Bertrand Jacquesson still getting worked on the sidelines. Rodrigo Almeida checked in for him. And that goes off Maufo for the goal kick. And now Jacquesson is readying himself at the sideline to come back in the match. And McCloskey has seen it, the official, and he waves him back on, and Almeida will make way. Do you see any other, as we come down here, again, there's college soccer down there, there's no overtime, so we're only going 90 minutes. Mentioned Michael Sullivan coming in, the reshuffle of the back line. Anything else tactically you might think that kind of throwing caution to the wind that Jay Vitovich may do?
I lean on Michael Sullivan right now because of in his presence that he has to have, most importantly, number one. But the type of player that he is, I'm trying to figure out what is his role. And the reason I say that is because he's capable of so much. You know, he can play deep within the midfield. He's another guy who can be an outside back. You can play him on the right as a number 10. And right now, he's trying to fulfill this role within the midfield as they come.
Up to McManus. He settles, tries to lay it off. Nobody there to run onto it.
If you basically take a triangle and put one at the bottom and two in front, the left side of that advanced part of the triangle always jumps up high, comes up next to the 9. We talked about that in the first half defensively, how they press, right? Well, he's not really pressing very high, but he's not dropping back. So he's sort of sitting in this gray area, which in theory is great. The problem is he's basically put himself right next to Bradley Sample. And so as he's done that, he's played himself out of the game. And guess what? He's going to now be removed from the game because he had no option going forward. You have to find a way in that position to get more of an advancement because Mirkovic has gotten in. Although Jackson Walty has given some balls up, he's also released some of the pressure off the interior. The third part of that argument now has to step up if you want to have success.
And we'll see what they do here as Abelnati was a little risky back there in the back line. They get out of trouble and over to Feitosa. He squares up, wants to come back to that right foot. He's looking for the switch to Maufo, but mishit it. Sam Cowell entered the match too a few minutes ago, 17 in blue for Josh Lucini. Not the best delivery. Troutman got under it, but almost a header from I see why John Michael Hayden likes Bakuzo, by the way. He seems very fluid, very solid on the ball, and good work rate. Gilman's touch too long. Turnover in a tough area. Got Barker John. Blue jerseys striding back, though. 1v1 with Abelnati. Runs out of real estate. Tries a back heel. That doesn't work. But they do maintain possession. 10 minutes to go. Wow. Playing with fire back there was Bryce LaBelle. What a ball played in by Sonder Road. Brought down, limited handball, but oh, what a turn by McManus, but end up being crowded out by the Panther defenders. Diaz's layoff for Elliott. Turned over there, and now there's some blue jerseys getting forward. Maufo. We make it hand mode. Too many touches?
Put that ball in the corner, please. I mean, he's asking for it. This is one of the best players in the entire country in Bertrand Jacquesson. The space is open. He's one-on-one with Matty Walters. Why aren't you giving it to him?
It seemed like the obvious play. Didn't happen, and now Louisville's back behind the ball. Little 1-2. Jacquesson squared up with Walters. Gets end line, plays it in just over the head of Sam Cowell. Brought down, driven back. Falls to Almeida, lays it for Walty, shot wide. Just under 9 minutes to go. Here's your scoring summary and how we arrived at this 2-1 scoreline.
Yeah, Boubacar Kamara and Which John Michael Hayden hopes would be the step up for him. One of the senior guys in terms of classmen that stepped up 5 minutes in. Jacques Aisson, the special player that he is, returned the favor. Only took 46 minutes in the start of the second half to get him back on the board, and then some kind of strike by Konstantinos Georgilidis on the back post. That strike, by the way, it's beautiful. It's rude. You don't need to hit it on your laces, right? That's one where you sit on the training ground, 100 balls are floated in, 5 of them end up on frame, maybe 1 goes in the back of the net. But it's a true testament to his skill set, because most players are actually trying to hit that with their instep, because you can take some of the sting off of the ball. You can also control where it's going to go. Instead, right over the shoulder, a little bit of FIFA.
Yeah, there we go, yeah. I was like, what do you mean it's hard in FIFA? I do it all the time.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah. It's amazing what that right one button does.
Also, when you have Erling Haaland, it makes it easier too. Rode dispossesses Feitosa. He's got Georgilidis, the goal scorer. Low ball in. Malty's there, though. Almeida turns into some space. Almeida, excuse me. Mirkovic. Able to keep it in play, but not keep possession. Malty heads it down, and nicely done by Bakuzo to win it back for the Cards. Troutman just gets it out. Danger. Gilman on it. Doesn't seem to be in a rush.
As they try to advance going forward, one of the things that dear Lord.
Terrible turnover. Georgilidis, can he get it back? He does. Headed down. And yes, handball. Handball down by Makumba Ba. And Abelnadi is down behind the play. He's down off the pitch. Clock has stopped. As they come to check on the senior from Lakewood, Kansas. Grew up in the Sporting KC Academy.
That is not a look you want to see.
Plays for the Jordan national team, or has played the U19 team, and they're saying they need a sub right away. And remember, he was playing left back. They made some shuffling around to move him in to put Feitosa back there, but let's see who enters the mix now. Looks like Leonardo Andrade, another Brazilian, only his 3rd appearance of the season, a freshman. So he's in the mix now too. Abubakar Kamara came back in the match as well, who opened the scoring. His 22nd goal of his career, now tied for 8th all-time in Louisville history, the junior from Upper Darby, Pennsylvania.
Jackson Gilman has now played every position on the back line. I mean, this kid.
He is versatile. That's 2 blue. Freshman from Pennsylvania as well, part of the YSC Academy, Gilman. Encroaching on 6 minutes from a huge win for Louisville. They can hold on. Pitt has not really threatened, really, since the goal that Louisville scored. They have controlled this game by and large. Rode peels off the defender to some space. Kamara happy to take it to the corner a little bit, and here we go. So start wasting a little bit of time. And, off goal kick there. Ayufo still on it. Has Rosa on the overlap. Feitosa finds Walty. Good ball to the feet of Almeida. Almeida closed down quickly, turns it over. Kamara now, maybe a transition opportunity to end this thing. Georgalides, he sees in space. Makumba Ba plays it to him. Ba looking for Kamara, a little too much on it, but he'll run it down. You can hear the bench saying, hold it, hold it, hold it. They don't got to go to goal. They do need to waste 4 minutes and 13 seconds, though, to walk out of here with 3 points. Be their first ACC win. Georgalides gets in line, out for a corner. They lost to Duke, tied BC on the road in their last match in the league. Tough place to win. And you see their record versus top 25 of the respective teams. They can move this into 2-2 and in a big way to build their NCAA tournament resume. Looking to get there 3rd times in 4 years for John Michael Hayden as the coach of the Cards. Road to play it in, or will he play it short? He will play it in. Looking back post, steaming in. Falls the sample, dinked around. Rosa gets it out, but only to Ba. You hear the coaches yelling, take it back. Ba's going the other way. Gets end line. Walty's there. Kept in by Georgalides and rolled out. 3:24 to go. Here comes Pitt. Oh, down goes another Pitt player. Maiufo's on it, though. And out to touch for a goal kick. And Feitosa, who now is switched over to right back, he is struggling. Lost the boot in the process. He's saying to John McCloskey, how do you think that happened? McCloskey will not stop the game as Feitosa still doesn't have a boot on. The clock rolls unless the center official stops things.
That's a fun little decision. See if you get a Christmas card.
Not sure I understand that, but okay. Big switch to Georgalides.
These two have been incredible in the second half. Georgalides and Saunders Road. Just holding the ball. Holding the ball, providing opportunities. They just had the little 1-2 down in the corner.
Troutman off his line to avert a little bit of cut. It could have been crisis.
Remember in the first half, though, I alluded to the international players and the savvy, the technical and tactical wit about them. You're seeing that show up here. And John Michael Hayden last year about Saunders Road, he talked about his decision-making, too many 2 and 3 touches, that he needed to find a way to get rid of the ball faster. He's done that, and he's got a friend to play with, too, the Cyprian and
Norwegian on the road. Under 2 now. Almeida lays it off to Gilman.
You got numbers on the back post, so you can make a quick switch. There it is.
On an opportunity. Lands to Jacasson. He went for the absolutely spectacular. I don't know if that was a shot or a first-time cross, but that would have been amazing if he was able to put that in a dangerous area. Nico Diaz coming in from Makumba Ba.
I wish we had an odometer tracker on John Michael Hayden.
He does.
How much distance he's put in here tracking this sideline, his players, the run of play.
He's in phenomenal shape. He looks like he can get out there and play. As he said, he still does work in some training exercises with the guys, demo some stuff. And if they went to small side, within small-sided games, he can still hold his own. It's the full field. It's a little different for guys of our advanced age. Good pressure by Diaz. Made it hard for Van der Sar. We're at a minute now. Oh, Georgalides, great touch. Lays it to Diaz. Diaz just bundled over, no call. You're shaking your head, you agree. Okay. And now everybody's yelling in the corner, not just the coaches now. And Georgalides dispossessed and then kicks it out, 47 seconds. Just a quick aside, Pitt did score as time expired in the Akron game at halftime to make it 2-2. It was literally a buzzer-beating goal by Filip Mirkovic. This thing can happen still. Played out wide by Almeida. Can Rosa win the race? He doesn't get there in time. And the bench is up now, and the fans are up now too, as they can sense it. Potential huge win, first ACC win for Louisville in 12 seconds. And Kamara sends it into the stratosphere, and that's going to do it. They started off hot, scored a goal 5 minutes in, gave one at 6 minutes in the second half, battled back, and get the win at home. Devin, your thoughts?
Some nights, there's no magic, and that's exactly what went on for Pitt tonight. They didn't have enough discipline on the back line. It was poor giveaways over and over and over again. There was no real vision or attacking prowess coming up to the midfield, and they drastically missed Valentin Noel on the front line.
É isso, fim de jogo. No segundo tempo, agora no final do jogo, já o Guilherme entrou na lateral esquerda, meio improvisado. E no finalzinho do jogo, quando o zagueiro machucou, entrou o Leonardo, também brasileiro. Mas é isso, Louisville ganhou, jogo válido já pela ACC. Jogaço. Perguntaram do jogo da marcha, o FG amanhã. Até o coach Rafa veio pedir pra gente transmitir. Só que, como é sábado, tem outro compromisso. Vou tentar, mas não é garantido, por isso que eu não anunciei nem. Mas é isso. Valeu, galera. Boa noite pra todo mundo. Já vou encerrar aqui. Valeu, abraço. Lembra de clicar no like, se inscrever no canal e até mais.